I'm Mike Gasser with the Environmental Programs Group. We have generated or helped generate a lot of the procedures here. If you see some of them that I go through, that you have questions, please contact someone in the group. I'm also presenting a lot of information from Tom Record, so I may pass you off on that. One of the takeoffs that I want you to have is we have procedures. There's a lot of information being presented. Just know that you have procedures, where they're located, and in general, what are the requirements are so that you know when to go in and look at these. And again, if you have any questions, please contact someone and ask them. Okay, chemical storage and disposal. We have a procedure on this, refer to it. One of the big requirements on this procedure is related to the MSDSs. You as contractors are required to have MSDSs for all the chemicals that you use. There should be a book that you're compiling that is available for your employees to look at, and the building manager should also have copies of your MSDSs. One of the important things on here also is if you've got drums or containers with chemicals, they must be labeled. If you take some chemicals and put it into a 5-gallon bucket because it's easier to work with, etc., label the bucket with what it contains. Store your chemicals within a secondary containment so that if you have a spill, it is contained. If your contract doesn't specifically require you to dispose of any unused chemicals and you do have waste chemicals, contact EPG. Periodically, we do have a chemical roundup and we may be able to dispose of those materials at that time. Your responsibilities. You need to make sure that your employees are trained to handle the chemicals that you're dealing with. You need to make sure that you're tracking your chemical inventory and you have your MSDSs for all the chemicals you're using. And make sure your employees are handling the materials properly. Okay, let's go to the next. Is there any questions? Next one is hazardous waste management. Hazardous waste management. This is how you handle hazardous waste. And how do you determine that it is hazardous waste? Well, you should have some process knowledge for the chemicals that you're using in your whatever you're doing. If you don't know what the status is of the chemical, go in and look at the MSDS on the particular chemical that you're using. If you have some material that you don't know what it is, it's a drum that's in your inventory, there's no labeling on it. Go back to how important labeling is. You can go in and do some sampling to determine whether this is hazardous. And your sampling will determine whether it's flammable, reactive, corrosive, or toxic. If you've got any questions, give a holler and we can help you through that. Based on the information that you get either from the MSDS or the sampling that you do, you can make a determination on whether those chemicals are hazardous waste or not. If they are hazardous waste and you are going to be disposing of these, you're going to have to get the disposal facility some information that allows them to make a determination whether they'll accept it or not. This is called a profile. So you fill out the profile with all the information that you've got on the particular chemical. You submit it to the disposal facility. They review it. They make a determination if they can accept it. If they can accept it, then you move forward to shipping the material out to them. You need to find a shipper that complies with the DOT regulations. It has to be a hazardous waste shipper. You need to use a hazardous waste manifest. It's a 5-part manifest that has to be signed by the generator. As contractors, you never sign a hazardous waste manifest. If you do, your company has accepted all of the liability associated with that product. You're saying that effectively you're the generator on it. John Kleinschmidt in the group is the only one in GSA that has got the current training to be able to sign the hazardous waste manifests. Once you get your manifest signed, your material has been picked up, the material is on the way to disposal facility. Once it gets to the facility will send back a copy of the manifest. You may receive this since you may be setting up the contracting portion of the disposal activity. If you do get one of these, please submit it to EPG. We on a every 2 years have to do a report to EPA, and we report all of our hazardous waste shipments, and this material is critical for us to do that reporting. Again, this effectively tracks chemicals, as you've heard probably numerous times, cradle to grave. Any questions? All right, let's go to spill response. Okay, spill response is relatively simple. If you see a spill, unknown chemicals, etc., make a quick determination of whether you're seeing a life-threatening, there's a potential for fire or explosion, and then make a determination, are you trained to handle this situation? Do you have the specific training to handle what you're seeing? If you don't, and you're not trained, evacuate the area, get everyone away from the area. Once you're in a safe position away from the incident, call 911 or pull the fire alarm. What this will do is it'll have West Metro Hazmat will respond out to the site. They will come out and they will stabilize the situation. Stabilizing the situation means that they will remove the immediate human health and the environment threat. They will not clean up the site. For cleanup of the site, you'll need to get together with your PM and the contracting officer to identify a cleanup contractor. If you do have a spill that you are trained to handle, right through here, and you can handle it, go ahead and do the cleanup if it's a small amount, and move forward on it. Okay, let's go sanitary sewer discharge.
Mike, are we required for every little spill, are we required to document that?
There's not a threshold. There are thresholds, reportable quantities for EPA, et cetera, but they're usually huge. So small spills, incidental, I knocked over a bottle of bleach or such, no. So there's no threshold value there. If you start coming into something that is really, you've got exposure to people, tenants, et cetera, yeah, you should be. Okay, sanitary sewer discharge. Okay, there's 2 parts to the sanitary sewer discharge. We've got the accidental spill, and we have a planned discharge, which is 99.9% of what we do. To start out with, on sanitary sewers, nothing goes down the sanitary sewer except sewage and clean potable water. That also includes, that can go down the sewer, is cleaning materials that you're using for mopping, etc., that sort of thing. But no chemicals get discharged to the sanitary sewer. on cooling and heating lines. If you have a break and you're discharging this material, we need to go through a permitting process on this. So on an accidental spill, you come upon a large spill, contact the mega center, contact your building manager. We will contact the local utility here, which is Metro Wastewater, and tell them what occurred. We've got databases that have some of the information from your systems that we can report. The other one is planned discharges. This is what most of your discharges are going to be. If you look at the procedure, there's a couple of pages that you fill out. You submit that application to the EPG. We'll add some additional information, submit it to the Metro Wastewater to get permission for that discharge. What do you have to provide? You need to provide what systems you're going to be draining or what you're going to be discharging, any chemicals that have been added to it, the time and date that you propose to discharge this, and the rate that you're going to discharge. Metro will look at this information and will send back an email whether they accept this discharge or not. That email will be passed forward to you so that you can move forward with your planned discharge. Why do we do this? I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with Building 95, USGS Water Quality Lab. They did a self-report to West Metro on a chemical discharge to the sanitary sewer. They now are on a special use permit. It requires weekly, monthly sampling of their waste stream, retention of their waste stream, etc. This is an attempt for GSA not to get into that type of situation. Stormwater management, any questions? Okay, the next one is stormwater management. All right, this is pretty detailed. This is Bill Fieselman's. Several things that you need to know about the Denver Federal Center. We are considered by EPA as being a small municipality, and as such we have an individual stormwater permit that's been issued to us. EPA is the oversight on this. The permit requires us to assure that in the stormwater sewer system that the only thing that goes into the sewer system is water. Stormwater, particularly. There are a list and contact Bill for the list of exceptions, but it can include you're using potable water for washing down buildings, cars, etc. Some of these are allowable discharges. Check with Bill on what is allowable discharge on it. One of the big things that is required on the permit is controlling sediment going into the sanitary sewer. So as such, if you're going to be doing soil disturbing activities that are over a large area, and I believe it's 5,000 square feet is the breakover point, there are additional requirements that you have to do. If it's over 5,000 square feet, we are located down in this area here. We have ESA requirements and NOI requirements. Well, ESA is a stormwater flow off of the property that you're working on, and it controls infiltration rates, etc., and how you design your project. The NOI is an EPA-issued permit. This is a notice of intent that you as the contractor have to apply for. In that application, you'll put in what type of best management practices you're going to do to prevent soil silts from getting into the stormwater. That plan, and I would advise you, if you do it, to get someone that is familiar with writing these. will be used for auditing purposes by Bill when he does his weekly inspections. When you're completed with your excavation project, you have to close out your notice of intent with EPA. It also requires GSA to do a final inspection to make sure that you have met the requirements of the permit. On small excavations, which is referenced in here, we have the excavation permit process, which I'll be going over shortly. This will also have a section in it that you need to put in what type of stormwater protection activities you're going to do to stop any sediment getting into the stormwater. Any questions on that? Okay, next one is going to be the excavation permit. So the excavation permit is for your smaller excavations. This is going to be, you're replacing a sidewalk, you are doing sprinkler head change outs over a large area, you're changing lines, this sort of thing. You fill out a 2-page, and the application form is in the procedure, a 2-page form. One, very simple, gives out what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and the second one is a map that shows the location. The EPG will take this information, we will review the data that we have on the site, we will write a permit for this with requirements for that particular site. The EPG program manager, which is John Kleinschmidt, will sign off on this along with the GSA project manager or building manager. This then will be used as the requirements for your excavation. We are currently requiring CABI, which is a Colorado Asbestos Building Inspector, on all soil excavation activities because we currently cannot predict when we will be discovering asbestos in soils or not. In the event that we come upon any staining, odor, debris, construction debris, etc., contact the EPG or your GSA project manager. We will send out individuals out to assess the situation and give the GSA project manager, CO, guidance on how to proceed forward on this.
Mike, you want to talk a little bit about cavity costs and how those are
Okay.
passed along or not passed along?
Most of the time, the CABI costs are put back on the project. There are certain situations where GSA may provide CABI. Typically, a CABI costs are running around $65 an hour. And it is for any type of, in general, any type of soil excavation activities that you're going to be doing. There are some exceptions for that in areas that we have extensively looked at, but even those areas we're finding surprises.